Are you ready? No, bum, bum, bum.
I'm gonna look up one name before I start.
Hero?
No, the name of the guy that
Kaiju.
plays Big Hero 6. It's like Scott.
Scott Ardsant?
That's exactly why I'm looking it up. Adsit. That's a weird ass name.
Who does he play?
The
By Baymax.
Baymax. Thank you. I was like, fuck.
robot.
I'm not ready to talk about this movie.
Because
Apparently.
I heard you like, this guy who plays Big Hero 6. I'm like, I don't know if you're ready for this.
I don't think I said that.
Yes, you did.
There's a recording.
You did. It's on tape. Although you're the editor, so it doesn't have to be. The guy who plays Baymax the robot.
Baymax, the robot. Got
There
it.
you go. Nailed it.
Got a nice clean one I can put in later.
Hey, we're two fat guys.
And we just watched Big Hero 6.
Yes, we did. Combination of the Disney Marathon and also the next entry in the Marvel Madness Marathon.
Yeah, our kind of bringing our first marathon and our most recent marathon in together for corporate synergy and
We're getting big
monetizing our assets.
We're getting big Disney bucks for this, right?
Sure we are.
Yay! Big Disney bucks.
Yeah, we've done a Marvel marathon, a Star Wars marathon, and a Disney marathon.
They owe us.
That's true.
And we hated the DC marathon, so
We didn't.
we hated the marathon. We
Hey, that's true. We did. That was a rough one.
since there were
That was our own fault, but
but still, I mean,
Big Hero 6.
Big Hero 6.
An animated feature based on a Marvel property, but it's Disney Animation Studios film, and it is fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I was a little worried because the one review I read from the AV Club, because that's what I do is I read AV Club articles, said that it was talking about like, well, the animation and the character design's amazing. It's like, but it's not a very good superhero movie. And like that was its knock. It was like a B- or something. And I'm like, I guess it's like if you hold up to like Captain America: Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess like objectively it's not as solid of a superhero movie as that, but that doesn't mean this is not a good movie.
Yeah, that seems like a vague genre. I mean, like it's closer to Mystery Men.
Yeah, like
Than
yeah,
those,
you know, this wasn't very much like Road to Perdition. What? I really enjoyed this movie. Like, granted, having done a Marvel marathon and a Disney marathon, I was a big fan of all the things that went into
primed
this.
for this. Yeah.
Even though I hear it's pretty loosely based on the comic,
I am interested to read to give the comic a read now because I'm curious to see what these characters are like. I would also, I'm sure that depending on how well this does, I would be interested in a sequel with these characters.
Yes.
Like they have set the groundwork for the Big Hero 6.
Yeah, because they didn't have to. The origin was pretty quick in terms of like the satisfaction of an origin of a superhero. It was a pretty quick gathering.
Yeah,
Which
and a lot of the characters outside of the main ones, like the supporting characters, were kind of they were underdeveloped, but not in a bad way. Like it's sort of how like the characters in Atlantis.
yeah, is
Like they were the side characters, and we knew enough about them to understand why they're saying things and doing things at certain points. But their personalities didn't have much impact on the story as a whole. And we didn't really get to learn a whole lot about them aside from you're the OCD guy, you're kind of the pouty woman. Like
yeah.
But it worked. Like they weren't trying to be more and more underdeveloped. They just didn't.
In usual Disney style, though, they were very economical in their establishing of their personalities. They did so in an effective way, quickly, that let me know who they were without being like really hokey. Like, oh, you're such a tough chick. Like that's like it wasn't that.
Yeah.
I like one of the small touches. I love this line is the one girl used twice "woman up" instead of "man up."
Yes.
Like where the popular phrase would be "man up," she used "woman up," and I was like, nice. Like that tells me a lot about this character in like a very short order.
In 2 words.
Yes. Delightful.
Yeah, I really liked how they also handled the characterization of the main characters, because those they really, really focused on. Hero and Baymax specifically, but even Hero's brother. I was surprised at how much you got with him early on, because based on some early trailers, I was like, I don't think things are going to work out so hot for the brother. Like,
I assumed the brother was like going to be a flashback thing, like, oh, remember when I was little and I had my older brother, and then I was like, oh, he's much more actively around.
Yeah, he was in for like at least the first 20 minutes or so.
Basically, the first act. Yeah,
and was a big part of that, and we got a lot of characterization with him and his interactions with Hiro, and both of their interactions with the Ant.
I love the Ant. Like the Ant was another one of those side characters who, like, okay, we didn't really delve in too deep, but like what we got was very well, I love the characterization of the Ant. Maya Rudolph did a great job as the Ant.
I didn't even recognize that it was her until the credits rolled. And then watching it again, I realized, I was like, even knowing it's her, I can only pick up on a few Maya Rudolph-y things.
It's because
and there.
Yeah, it's because we're so used to, like, on SNL, she played a lot of sassy characters.
Exactly, yeah. She's not doing Oprah.
Yeah, there was no sassiness to this character, and I mean, if you listen, like, okay, I can hear that as Maya Rudolph saying those words, but she was acting
acting.
She was acting, much like Sarah Silverman and
yes, exactly.
Like where if I listen to it, like, yes, that is Sarah Silverman's voice, but I'm not like, oh, this is just more Sarah Silverman.
Exactly,
something different.
As opposed to David Spade in.
Yeah, who, I mean, they kind of hired and wrote the part to be as David, well...
Yes. I mean, the character that's like, be David Spade.
And he's like, okay. Really? All right. And I was like, all right, it worked. Gangbusters.
I, as a fat guy, am a big fan of Baymax.
How disappointed are you that this came out after Halloween?
Fairly. Like, substantially disappointed. It's going to be quite some time before me and Nicole can get our Big Hero 6 costumes together.
2 of the Big Hero 6 are here.
Yeah, well, we'll be the important one.
She should be a microbot. Cartwheel around all night.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Baymax and then his first robot.
That is adorable. Give her a big smiley face.
Yeah.
And then an angry face that you can switch to in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Well, there's Halloween next year.
Yep. But yeah, but Baymax was...
he's the reason to see this movie. Like, as much as I enjoy a bunch of stuff in this movie, he's the reason to see this movie.
I don't know. Yeah, he has a lot of bit where he's a robot who is programmed to be a medical companion, sort of a nurse. But then he's tasked by Hiro to become this fighting badass robot, and he's never quite good at it, and except for key points of the movie. But he's always like, how will this help me be a better doctor? Like, okay, sure, I'll shoot my rocket fists and fly through the air. Like,
yeah.
But he always is very soft spoken and deliberate, and has his clear objectives. But also has a boatload of heart, which, shocker, it's a Disney film, and they do that really well.
I'll say, because we talked about this on the Wreck-It Ralph video, sort of maybe the influences of getting a little more Pixar in there and how you made a better studio. One of the best things in this movie is the physicality of Baymax. How he walks and how he carries himself at all times is just such a strong characterization of this robot.
And that's as was like I connected to very well as a big dude who's who's like very aware of my body and like trying not to get in anyone's way.
But
and
more than that, it was
kind of failing all the time.
Like, it's that, but also in the addition of kind of like the Nicelanders, like how, okay, this is how, like, characters move. Like, okay, a robot has to be, so, like, he did, like, the walking and then bumping and something, like, oh, there's something.
Oh, yeah, the first scene where he, like, is, like...
Which takes him, like, 15 to 20 seconds to, like, walk 10 feet.
And also more amazing that we get a lot out of Baymax. As far as facial expressions, he has virtually nothing.
Yeah.
He's a couple of dots in a line, and that's it. And there are some really important scenes where his face doesn't change. And it's a huge credit to Scott Adsit. I don't know how to say his name. But
the 30 Rock guy.
The dude from 30 Rock. Who, when I first heard that he was the guy voicing Baymax, I was like, that's not right. That can't be right.
It did seem like an odd choice, but then after watching it, I was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, but he fucking nailed it. And between his voice work and... as to the physicality of the character, the character as a whole, you get a lot of that emotion without a whole lot of facial expression, which is impressive considering even WALL-E, who was a robot, relied a lot on the sort of the Johnny Five look and being able to express with his face, where Baymax didn't have any of that those advantages, but still managed to do that, to express, which I thought was impressive.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoy the setting of this movie.
San Francisco.
San Francisco. Like, I don't have a term for it. I'm just going to say neon punk, even though I know it's not right. Like, it was this weird sort of cross mix of all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Jammed in, and like, it's the future, but is it? But it is.
It is, yeah, sort of like near future, but in this setting that was pretty amazingly just combining San Francisco and Tokyo into this fictional city that felt legitimate, like and but also really deftly mixed both of those worlds and those sensibilities, and
honestly was only really
very unique.
Which is great because it made an impression on me, but it really was only important for like one set piece action. Like the car chase in the middle is really the only time that the city itself is a character. Because the other set pieces are
that where the kind of San Francisco influences is part of like the
hills, but we also like you gotta think about like okay, they go to that island, they go to the school, they go to that warehouse, they go to the office building at the end. Like those are all like even though in the background like okay like this is part of the city. It's really mainly that chase and then the flight of
I was going to say,
Baymax.
the big thing is Baymax's flight and, like, just a couple other, like, brief scenes where you're moving through. Him first going after Baymax when they're looking for the warehouse. They do a lot of moving through different locales. And there's so much detail in the background.
Yes.
Like, the city, like...
I can't wait to find all the Disney characters. I'm sure there's all the Disney characters everywhere in the background of these things.
Yeah, there's just... The level of detail in these backgrounds is insane, especially when coming off of a marathon like this, where we're, less than 15 movies ago, we were seeing storyboard-esque backgrounds in front of animation.
There's more than 15, probably.
But I know it was like, but that level of
well, for us, like a week and a half ago, we were looking at
exactly. But yeah, and it is very fully formed and looks gorgeous.
Yes,
I liked all of the powers of the Big Hero 6.
Mm-hmm.
The powers they're all sort of in suits of sorts. There's no real superpowers, like superpowered people. It is all technology driven.
Yes.
Which is also interesting and kept through all of that. Even the bad guys is technology driven.
Yeah, how spoilery do you want to go with anything?
This is still pretty early, so not terrible.
We're not going to spoil things. I will say that if you've watched Batman the Animated Series with me, you know that this movie follows in the proud tradition of Batman the Animated Series. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right.
I'll tell you about it later once we're not doing spoilers.
Yes.
Because I can't say anything else without just spoiling everything.
I really like the both the concept and the execution of the microbots.
Yes.
Hero's invention that he invents early on, and then is used by the bad guy is it's cool
and it's smart. And it's like there's just enough like science for me to go okay whatever sure I'll let this magic happen.
Yeah, and it's
the sufficiently advanced technology, so
yeah, and it's done really well. Alan Tudyk also swooned in this movie as well. Alistair Craigie. Yeah. I don't even. I'm trying to think of what else I have to say about this movie, except it's great.
I will say that
the Stan Lee cameo is delightful.
Yes, there's a Stan Lee cameo. It's delightful.
Which I should have expected because it's Marvel, but because it was
it's still caught you off guard because this is it feels more Disney than Marvel, even though it's definitely Marvel.
Yeah,
it feels more Disney than Marvel just because it's animated, and it's unlike the other animated stuff. It's theatrically released.
Yeah, I thought they handled that in a great way.
Mm-hmm. I like the cat. I like Baymax and the cat. Like even though it was in the trailer, I just love. There's a lot of
Harry Baby.
The Harry Baby's funny. Him like
low battery Baymax when he's drunk.
Yeah, drunk delightful. Baymax is delight. Yeah, it was a great concept.
Wait, drunk totally not. He's low battery. What are you talking about?
It's a great way to do drunk jokes in the kids movie without really having someone be drunk. I will say like this computer animation was the right choice for this one, specifically because Baymax. I got much more of a feel out of this the material. It's kind of like Toy Story was so great because it looked like plastic brought to life.
Absolutely,
it sold Baymax better. Even though I'm really desperate just to get me another traditional animation film, like they did Princess and Frog and Winnie the Pooh, and I just really want Disney to do more of those. And like I'd be fine with it if it was every like 4 or 5 years. It's just that I know the next big one's going to be computer as well. And I'm just like, come on, like there's still a certain quality to nice quality hand-drawn animation that I wish you guys would crank out. Even though at this point I'm pretty sure computer has to be cheaper.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, we're paying to see your movies. Give me what I want. No, this one computer animation was a good call, so I'll give them that one. So how do you feel it sort of? Because obviously it sits very well in the Disney films. We talked about how it inspired by a lot of Disney stuff. How do you feel it sits within Marvel as a not just the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Because it's not part of.
Because I was going to say, yeah, it's not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is good. I think they considered it at one point, but then decided against it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a right call not to do it because that's it. I think it would undermine the success they've had in making a live action but still comedic setting. If then you're like, oh, well, this cartoon's also part of it, then I think it would give too much power to DC. Like it would be too much of a hit on Marvel's credibility.
Yeah,
at least from my point of view.
Which, yeah, it's. I think it's definitely up there.
Like
it's hard to compare, especially due to the
Disney of it all.
That it's animated, even that. It's the best of the Marvel animated stuff that we watched, the handful that we watched.
Yeah.
For that marathon.
I mean, because it's Disney.
It's Disney. Like it's like Disney. Sorry, the Marvel animated studios is going to be not as good as Disney.
I will say, it's hard to measure because the action's a little different. The action's good, but it's cartoon action. But but then again, there's infinitely more heart in this film than in, say, most of the Marvel stuff. Like certainly everything beyond the cinematic universe.
Yes.
And even a good chunk of the cinematic universe films like this has a lot more heart. The third act break is just really, it's.
Oh yeah,
it's well crafted. It's very reminiscent of. It reminded me a lot of Wreck-It Ralph. Like the hits in this remind me a lot of Wreck-It Ralph in that it's sort of an atypical story for Disney to tell, but they do it well, and also there's the Disney heart underneath that sort of adapts to this.
the big moment between Acts 2 and 3 is really well done, and even as an audience member, just makes you go like, no, like why, like just like Wreck-It Ralph, like exactly like Wreck-It Ralph. It's like why, but then you know why, and you're like, but don't,
it's
in a good way, in a way that you want that reaction from from a story.
I do want to point out also we talked about the voice cast. The Fred is that guy from Silicon Valley.
Yes,
Silicon Valley. Who's very famous on the internet for the jacking off every dude in this room scene.
God, I almost feel like I don't even need to watch that show. I want to watch that show, but I've seen that scene, and that feels like I'm great.
That feels good, but like having been with those characters, like building up to it, it's really solid. But no, that is by far the highlight of that show, and that's not downselling the rest of the show.
I mean, I absolutely still thought about that scene a couple times, just hearing his voice.
That's true, because it's such a specific voice. He has such a great character voice.
Which is like, so in the trailers, the only line that you hear him say in the trailers is like, "We're being chased by a supervillain." It's terrible, it's dangerous, but it's awesome. Yeah, and he sounded like Jason Lee.
I can see that. I can also see Seth Rogen.
Not quite. And I was like, is Jason Lee in this movie? Is Syndrome gonna be
Syndrome?
But it wasn't. It was the guy from Silicon Valley who did well.
Yeah, I don't really know many of the other voice actors, but all the sidekick, they all did very well.
Was it Damon Wayans Jr.?
Yes, Damon Wayans Jr.
was not Wasabi. Whatever he spilled on himself. I can't remember what it was.
Yes.
Wasabi? No.
One time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever his name is. It's all food-based names.
See, again, we don't really care.
We don't really pay attention to food, as you might imagine, here at
the character names and all that stuff were,
who hasn't had a Baymax bar?
That you didn't really need to know it because you knew the character right away. You're like, oh, it's this guy, and he's acting this way. And
they write good, so they don't constantly say each other's name back and forth, right, Sam?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Brandon.
So, also, just a little heads up, anyone who hadn't seen it yet, there's an after the credits scene, as you would assume for a Marvel film, but it is a Disney. So I would highly recommend staying for the after the credits scene.
Also, the credits are
gorgeous.
Yeah, they're all like comic book drawn looking. And And then having just remembered, like, it ends, like, the back half of the credits are just a single scene of Baymax and Hero, like, sitting on one of the wind turbines. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, well, the credits are going up, and it's just like them, like, watching a sunset, sitting on the top of the thing. I was like, that's delightful. And then, like, right before it ends, they, like, stand up and fly away.
Mm-hmm. So if you're a fan of Marvel or DC, hopefully you don't need to tell you to go see this. I imagine it's Marvel fans we would have to sell more. So if you're thinking like, oh, this is just some dumb Disney movie, like, if you like comic book movies, you're gonna like this. It's some good action in it.
But it's not part of the MCU.
Like honestly, its biggest flaw is how quickly the team has to come together. But guess what? That happened in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and you bastards ate that shit up. So.
Yeah,
get off your high horse.
And whatever. Like,
get off your high horse and go see this fucking.
At some
movie.
point, I don't care. I'm like, I know who they are. Get them together. Let's fight.
Let's blow shit up. Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm invested. Just go.
Like I was invested from that trailer. So both these had like a teaser trailer that didn't really tell you much of the movie. The 30-second one, and then also the Baymax putting on armor one. I was like, sold, sold. No one said a word, and I'm 100% sold on this idea.
Yep.
I'm also glad they had that trailer because it's an abbreviated. It's part of a montage where he puts the armor on him. Mm-hmm. So it's much abbreviated from that like minute-long trailer. So I'm glad they gave me that minute-long trailer because if I'd only seen that, I'd be like, I could watch forever of that. I could watch so much more of that.
Yeah, good. Just great physical comedy with Baymax. Mm-hmm. Oh, God. I'm also glad. Things that I'm glad are longer in the trailer.
Yeah.
Because the trailer just had the one arm.
Yeah.
And then, so you see that in the movie, you're like, yeah, I know, I saw this in the trailer. And then immediately, other arm. And like you can't not lose it at that point. Yeah. Like, even if you see it coming, you know it's coming, it's still funny. It's like Iron Man first testing his thrusters and hitting the wall behind him. Like, I don't care how many times I see that, it'll never not be funny.
That's true.
Because even seeing it, you know what's going to happen.
You're like,
that's what makes it funny. You're like, yep, that's going to... There it is.
Overall successful marathon.
Yes. Oh God, we got through another marathon.
Yeah, we got through another marathon. So we're probably gonna take a little break for the next one because we're probably I don't know, we're stupid. Maybe we won't. Who knows?
I feel like the next one's without committing to anything, probably going to be a Pixar one into Inside Story. I'd like to do.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. That wouldn't be that difficult.
A handful of movies, and we'll make sure we wait until like 3 days before and
Incredibles.
I did get a pretty good Incredibles vibe from this movie.
Yeah, I can see it. Like it had the same sort of sense of fun and
just in the style of it, and it's a superhero team and all that.
Yeah, but it had the heart underneath it. And,
and in a good way.
Yeah, so if you like Incredibles, i.e., if you have a soul, you'll like this movie. So. I think that's all I have to say for it. Who knows? Yeah, maybe that'll be our next marathon. Who knows? There's a bunch of other things we want to do.
Yeah.
Whatever Clayton doesn't want us to do, that's going to be our next marathon. We're just going to commit to that now. Or whatever will damage Eric the most.
Yes.
I think is also a good option.
Absolutely.
So, Disney Marathon in the books until next time, and Marvel until our next... Oh, man. Next Marvel one is Avengers Age of Ultron.
Or unless we get around to those Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. videos.
Yeah, we promised this a couple times, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And you just mentioned it again.
Yep.
I was going to hope people would just forget, but no, you're like, let's remind them. That's a good plan.
Yep. That's what I'm here for.
Because we have to rewatch Season 1 to do that.
Yep. That's alright. Remember the back half of Season 1?
Yeah, I guess. Thanks for we're two fat guys.
And sorry for wasting your time.
You should be sorry for bringing that up again.
Never.